Okay, so in the last lecture, we were discussing about the ferromagnetism, right? And we derived the expression for the ferromagnetic susceptibility, and you came to know that ferromagnetic susceptibility is given by the expression C upon T minus theta, where C is the Curie constant and T is the temperature, theta is another constant whose value is equal to gamma into C. Okay, so now we are going to talk about very important article, which is hysteresis. So this is hysteresis. And BH curve. So as I told in the beginning that the behavior of or the variation of B, which is magnetic flux, with respect to H is not linear in case of the ferromagnetic materials. It follows a nonlinear behavior. So let us see what kind of behavior and what kind of how does it follow the magnetic field intensity? How does the magnetic flux follows the magnetic field intensity? Okay. The reason being why it is nonlinear behavior, because mu r, the relative permeability for ferromagnetic materials, is not constant. This is not constant for ferromagnetic materials. So if it is variable, then you know that B is equal to mu naught H or mu r H. Okay, so if this is not constant, it means that a linear kind of behavior will not be followed by B and H. Okay, so let us see how this variation takes place. So in order to see the variation of B with respect to H or ferromagnetic materials, let us place a ferromagnetic substance in the magnetization field, and then we will be steadily increasing the magnetic field intensity from 0 until the magnetic intensity corresponds to some value. Okay, so the behavior is just like this. This is the vertical axis, this is the horizontal axis. So along horizontal axis we have taken the magnetic field H, and along vertical direction we have taken the magnetic flux B. Okay, so if the magnetic field H is increased, this is origin and this is 0. If the magnetic field is applied to the sample along the positive direction, means if a positive magnetic field is applied to the sample, then the magnetic flux will follow like this. So this kind of behavior will be followed by the magnetic flux density. Okay, so let's say this is A, and let's say at this point this will be saturated. Okay, if you further increase the magnetic field, the magnetic flux density will not change. Reason I have already told you, because all the domains, they will be saturated in one direction only. So now even if you increase the magnetic field, the magnetic flux density will not increase. Okay, so let's see at this point, up to this point H, when you applied the magnetic field, the sample becomes saturated, and now the magnetic flux will not increase. Okay, so now if the magnetic field H is reduced, let's say to 0, the magnetic flux density does not return on the same path. Let's say this point is B. So now if you reduce this magnetic field H to, let's say, 0, or if you decrease the magnetic field, then the same kind of behavior or the same kind of path will not be followed by magnetic flux density. Now in this situation, this kind of behavior will be followed. It will decrease but it will have a positive value. Okay, so what does it mean? See here, at this point you can see that even the magnetic field is zero. At this point the magnetic field value H की value क्या है? Zero है, but still there is some magnetization, still there is some magnetic flux density within the sample. Okay, so this is what? So it means that even at H is equal to 0, the magnetic flux is this value, which is, let's say, OC. Okay, it means that flux density in the sample is seen to depend not only the magnetic intensity alone, but on the magnetic history of the sample as well. Okay, so at this point C, the specimen has become a permanent magnet. At this point, this sample has become a permanent magnet, because now see, you can see the magnetic field is zero, but still the sample is magnetized. The sample is behaving like a magnet, a permanent magnet. Okay. This value of B at this point C, even when the magnetic field is zero, this is called residual induction. This is called residual induction, or this behavior is also known as retentivity. This is also called retentivity. Now, when the magnetic field H is reversed, the magnetic flux density B falls and it becomes zero. So if you reverse the magnetic field, if you further decrease the H magnetic field intensity, and if you further take it to the negative value, if you take it on the negative side, then this flux density, it will start decreasing and it becomes zero here at this point. Let's say this is D. Okay, so at this point magnetic flux density is zero, even you have given some reverse field to the sample, you have given some negative field to the sample. Okay, so this sample, this value of H, it is denoted by, let's say, Hc, and Hc is called corrosive force or corrosivity. So this is the amount of the field, or this is the amount of the force which needs to be applied to the sample in order to bring its magnetic flux density to zero. ठीक है, अगर जो उसकी मैग्नेटाइजेशन हो चुकी है उसको अगर आपको जीरो करना है तो आपको नेगेटिव में फील्ड अप्लाई करना पड़ेगा, आपको नेगेटिव में मैग्नेटाइज करना पड़ेगा सैंपल को, then it will become zero. So this is called corrosive force or corrosivity. Okay, now when the magnetic field is increased still further in the reverse direction, a reverse induction is set up in the specimen which quickly attains the saturation value, right? If you further increase, this value will not be further, decrease. Okay, so if we reduce the reverse field gradually, the induction B follows the curve, this one, so let's say this is E. Okay, and now this attains the value, you can say this value is up to here, let's say F. Okay, so this attains the value F. So this is negative B, this is negative magnetization, this is negative flux inside the sample. Okay, now when the H is further increased, again in the positive direction, the induction traces out the curve, this one. Like this. Okay, when you increase the value of H, when you increase the magnetization H, it will this kind of curve will be followed. Okay, so this curve is called hysteresis loop, and this is also called BH curve, and many times it has been asked in the examination, maybe small questions like what is corrosivity, or what is corrosive force, or what is residual induction, or what is retentivity. Okay, so this is the hysteresis. Anything you want to ask? Yes, any doubt, student?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So this was all about hysteresis. Now, next one is antiferromagnetism. So students, in ferromagnetism, we have seen large amount of magnetization is there, and the magnetization is due to the formation of the domains, right? There are number of domains which are formed, and when you apply the magnetic field, these domains will be aligned along the direction of the magnetic field, right? So there is a interaction energy between these dipoles, and due to that interaction energy, this type of domains are formed. This type of domains are formed. Okay, but in case of antiferromagnetism, there are some kind of materials, there are some materials in nature which do not follow this kind of behavior. In these materials, the formation of domains will take place, but the domains, the interaction energy between these two, domains, between these two atomic dipoles, that will be opposite to the direction of the applied field. Okay, so these domains, they will be aligned along, they will be magnetized, but they will be less magnetized as compared to the ferromagnetic materials. The magnetization is weak in these kind of materials, right? So if you compare the susceptibility value, we can say that for paramagnetic materials, psi is equal to C upon T. For ferromagnetic materials, xi is equal to C upon T minus theta. And for antiferromagnetic materials, xi is equal to C upon T plus theta. So here, because the interaction energy is opposite, so this will become plus. Okay, so this was antiferromagnetism. Then similarly, there is one more category which is known as the ferrimagnetism. Ferrimagnetism is again a special case of antiferromagnetism. In antiferromagnetism, the magnetic moments of the substances are equal and opposite, and net spontaneous magnetization is zero. There is no spontaneous magnetization in antiferromagnetic materials. There is no spontaneous magnetization in antiferromagnetic materials. Reason being, the size of the domains is equal, right? So one domain, in the absence of any magnetic field, one domain will be oriented along this, another domain will be oriented like this, another domain may be oriented up, another may be oriented down. So the effect of one will cancel out the effect of another one, right? So the magnetic moment produced by this domain is equal to the magnetic moment produced by this domain, right? So they will cancel out the impact of each other. However, this is not the case in ferrimagnetism. In ferrimagnetism, the dipole moment generated by this domain may be higher as compared to the dipole moment generated by this domain. Okay, or vice versa may be the case. Okay, so m1 may be greater than m2, or similarly for other domains, for some other domains, the magnetic moment of another one may be higher than the magnetic moment of another four. So there is there is no equal distribution of the magnetic moment. Okay, so because of this, the spontaneous magnetization takes place in ferromagnetic materials. So the only difference between antiferromagnetic and ferromagnetic material is, in the antiferromagnetic materials, no spontaneous magnetization takes place. However, in ferromagnetic materials, spontaneous magnetization takes place. Is that okay, students? Any doubt?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So that's all for this chapter. If you have any doubt, you can ask me. And as I told you earlier, that by the end of this week, you are going to submit me the first tutorial, and then I will upload the second tutorial on LMS. You can take it from there.